Have you ever looked down at your dinner plate and thought, I hope this isn't hurting my kidneys, but had no idea what to change? Maybe your doctor mentioned your creatinine was a little high, or your filtration rate was not quite where we want it. And since then, every bowl of soup, every spoonful of beans, every comfort food has started to feel like a bit of a question mark. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. Many people over 60 tell me the same thing. They feel fine most days, maybe a little more tired than they used to. Maybe their socks leave deeper marks around the ankles by evening, but they're not in crisis. They're just worried about doing the wrong thing at the table. They don't want to give up every food they love, but they also don't want to push their kidneys any harder than they have to. Today, I want to sit beside you, almost like we're at the same kitchen table, and walk through a very simple idea: how to enjoy beans and other everyday foods in a way that is kinder to aging kidneys. Not perfect, not magic, and not one size fits all, but calmer, more informed choices you can talk over with your doctor or dietitian. As we go, remember this: everyone's body is different. What works for one person may not be right for another, especially if you have diabetes, high blood pressure, or other health conditions. So as you listen, keep this phrase in the back of your mind. Talk with your doctor first before making big changes. This is about giving you language and ideas so those conversations feel easier, not about replacing medical advice. Let's start with something most people never hear clearly. What actually changes in your kidneys as you get older, and why a simple bowl of beans can feel very different to a 30-year-old kidney than to a 70-year-old one. As we age, many parts of the body quietly slow down. You notice your walking pace, or how long it takes to get up from a low chair. Kidneys are no different, but because they sit in the back of your abdomen, working silently, you don't feel every small change the way you feel an aching knee. A healthy kidney works like a steady, patient filter. All day long, blood flows through tiny loops called filters, where waste and extra water are removed, then sent off as urine. When you're younger, those filters have a lot of extra capacity. You can be a little careless with salty snacks or heavy meals, and your kidneys usually keep up. After 60, though, especially if you live with high blood pressure, diabetes, or long years of certain medicines, the extra room in those filters shrinks. You may still feel okay, but the margin for error is smaller. A big, heavy meal can mean a late night of tossing and turning. Too much salt at lunch can show up as tight shoes by evening. Or your doctor might mention a change in your estimated filtration rate, even while you feel mostly normal. Many older adults tell me they feel confused by this. They'll say something like, "But I've eaten like this my whole life. Why is it a problem now?" That question makes perfect sense. The answer is simple but very important. The same food can create more work for a slower filter. Think about the kitchen sink in a house you've lived in for many years. When it was brand new, you could pour almost anything down it, and it would handle it. Over decades, if grease or small bits of food built up in the pipes, the water might still go down, but a heavy pouring of leftover soup might cause slow drainage. The sink did not become bad. It just lost some of its extra capacity. Now you have to be a little more careful about what you pour and how much you pour at once. Your kidneys are, in many ways, like that older sink. They can still work well, especially with thoughtful care, but they don't have the same forgiving capacity they had at 30 or 40. That is where food choices, including beans, come in. Beans are a wonderful, traditional food. They show up in chili at football games, in simple rice dishes, in soups on cool evenings, in salads and casseroles. Many people were raised to think beans equal health, especially compared to processed meats or sugary snacks. There's truth in that, but there's also a piece of the story that changes once kidney function starts to dip. To understand that piece clearly, we need to talk about what beans actually bring to the table for an older kidney: protein, minerals, and fiber. And we need to do it in a way that makes sense when you are standing in the grocery aisle trying to decide between a can of black beans and a bag of green beans. Imagine you're planning dinner. You've got some brown rice on the stove, maybe a bit of chicken, and you're thinking about adding beans for extra protein. For most of your life, that sounded like a great idea. Protein helps build and maintain muscle, keeps you full, and supports healing. But here's what rarely gets explained. When your body breaks down protein, it creates waste products that have to be filtered out through the kidneys. When kidney function is strong, that extra work is usually not a big deal. When kidney function is lower, your body can still handle protein, but large amounts at once can mean more work for those already tired filters. Beans often contain a fair amount of protein for a plant food. A generous serving can look harmless, but for an older kidney, it may mean a busy night at the filter. That's not a reason to fear beans. It's a reason to think about portion size and how often you're eating the heavier ones. The second thing to know is minerals. Beans can be rich in potassium and phosphorus. In a younger person, or in someone with strong kidney function, these minerals are important and helpful. They play roles in heart rhythm, bones, and nerve function. When kidneys are slower, though, balancing these minerals becomes harder. Potassium or phosphorus can build up, and that can show up as cramps, irregular heartbeat, or changes on your blood tests. Again, this is not about panic. This is about awareness. If your doctor has ever mentioned watching your potassium or keeping an eye on phosphorus, the type and amount of beans you eat starts to matter more. Not because beans are bad, but because the margin for error is smaller now. The third piece is fiber. This one is almost always good news. Many older adults don't get enough fiber, and constipation is common. Gentle fiber helps move waste through the bowels so the kidneys don't have to see as much of it. But not all fiber feels the same to everyone. A bowl of heavy beans can leave some people bloated and uncomfortable, especially if they're not used to it. So you have this mix: protein that can be helpful or heavy, minerals that can be needed or too much, and fiber that can be soothing or upsetting, depending on your body and portion size. No wonder beans feel confusing. The good news is you don't have to sort this out alone. Your doctor, and especially a kidney or renal dietitian, can help you decide what's right for your specific stage of kidney function. This video is meant to give you a clear, calm starting point for that conversation. Let's look at how different types of beans and bean-like vegetables fit into this picture, and how you can adjust them with simple habits instead of extreme rules. First, let's talk about the heavier, denser beans that may deserve a little extra respect when your kidneys have slowed. Things like black beans, traditional red kidney beans, soy-based foods, and large portions of lentils. Picture a woman in her late 60s, we'll call her Carol. She's careful with her food. She doesn't live on fast food. She cooks at home, and she tries to follow her doctor's advice. After her last blood test, though, her clinic printed out a page that showed a small rise in creatinine compared to last year. The nurse circled it and said, "We'll keep an eye on this." Carol went home wondering if she had done something wrong. When she laid out her typical week, one pattern stood out. At least 3 or 4 times, she was relying on dense, dark beans to bulk up her meals. A big black bean soup on Sunday, a generous serving of kidney beans and chili on Tuesday, a large lentil stew on Friday. For many years, that was a sensible, frugal, and healthy routine. But now, with kidneys that no longer had as much extra capacity, those hearty bowls meant a lot of protein and minerals all at once. For someone like Carol, the answer is rarely, never eat black beans again. Instead, it might be something gentler, like cutting the portion in half, or enjoying that soup once a week instead of 3 times, or mixing a smaller amount of the heavy bean with a larger amount of vegetables and rice. When she checked back in with her doctor after discussing these changes, her numbers were steadier, and more importantly, she felt less weighed down after meals. Everyone is different, and this may not apply to everyone watching, but the pattern is common. Heavier beans can still have a place, but the older the kidney, the more important it is to watch how much and how often. Now think about soy-based foods. Many older adults switch to soy milk or tofu because they've heard it's better for the heart or better for cholesterol. For some people, small amounts can be fine. For others with more advanced kidney changes, the combination of protein and certain plant compounds can be a bit demanding. If you're pouring a big glass of soy milk every morning and eating tofu several times a week, it's worth asking your doctor or dietitian if that routine fits your current kidney numbers. Lentils can tell a similar story. They are often recommended for heart health and blood sugar balance, and they can be helpful in moderate portions. But if you've gone from eating them once in a while to eating a large bowl every single day, and your filtration rate is already low, that shift may show up on your lab work. Again, talking with your doctor first is key. A small, soaked, well-cooked portion paired with plenty of vegetables may be reasonable for one person, while another may be asked to limit them more strictly. The point here is not to create fear around every bean in your pantry. It's to shine a light on the idea that as your kidneys age, some of the very foods that were once always fine might now need a lighter touch. And once you recognize that, you're ready for the more hopeful part of the story. The gentler, easier on the kidney choices that can still bring flavor, comfort, and nourishment to your plate. Now, let's turn to the lighter side of the bean family, the green, crisp, often overlooked vegetables that can offer many of the benefits of beans without so much weight on the kidneys. Imagine walking down the produce aisle with a small list in hand. On one shelf, you see bags of dried beans and large cans stacked high. On another, you see long, thin green beans, little bags of peas, and perhaps even a bundle of those very long, almost rope-like beans you don't usually notice. For many older adults, those slimmer beans feel less exciting. They're not as filling as a heavy stew, they don't star in traditional recipes as often, and they can seem almost too simple to be important. But for a kidney that's doing its best with less reserve, simplicity can be a blessing. Green beans, for example, tend to be lower in potassium and phosphorus than many of the dense, dried beans. They also carry gentle fiber, enough to help your digestion move along without creating the brick in the belly feeling some people get after a big bowl of chili. Think of a man in his early 70s, we'll call him Martin. He used to love thick, spicy bean dishes, but after his doctor mentioned stage 3 kidney disease, he noticed those meals left him bloated and tired. With guidance from a dietitian, he began trading 2 or 3 of those heavy meals each week for simple plates that included a generous helping of steamed green beans dressed with a bit of olive oil and garlic. Over time, he found that his evenings were more comfortable, his rings were a little less tight, and his lab numbers stopped climbing so quickly. Then there are peas. Many of us grew up pushing peas around our plates as children. They might have come out of a freezer bag or a can, warmed quickly on the stove. For an older adult with kidney concerns, that simple spoonful can do more than it appears. Peas carry modest protein, fiber, and certain vitamins that support blood health. For someone whose kidneys have started to affect their blood counts, that small boost can matter. Imagine adding half a cup of peas to your evening meal a few times a week, either stirred into a light soup, on the side of a baked fish, or tucked into a soft mash on your plate. The amount is small, the cooking is easy, and yet the routine gently supports both digestion and circulation without flooding the kidneys with extra waste. As always, everyone's body is different, and if your doctor has given you strict instructions on potassium or protein, follow those first. But for many people, this kind of simple pea dish becomes a comfortable, repeatable part of their week. In some parts of the world, people also enjoy very long, slender beans that hang from vines like green cords. These are often tender, low in minerals that strain the kidneys, and surprisingly filling when cooked lightly. If you ever see them at your market and your doctor has not restricted your vegetables, they can be worth a try. A small handful, cut into shorter pieces and gently sautéed, can make an excellent side dish that feels safe instead of risky. The main idea here is this: not every bean puts the same weight on your kidneys. Dense, dry beans can be powerful and heavy. Slimmer, greener beans and peas tend to be gentler. When you're trying to protect older kidneys, shifting some of your weekly meals from the heavy side of that spectrum to the gentle side is often a practical way to ease the load. But gentle choices only help if you put them into a full meal in a way that fits your whole body, not just your kidneys. So let's talk about how to build a plate that respects your kidneys, supports your energy, and still feels like real food, not punishment. Picture a typical day. Maybe you wake up, take your morning medicines with a glass of water, and have a simple breakfast. By lunchtime, your energy dips a bit. You open the refrigerator and see leftovers, a few vegetables, maybe a container of beans or soup. Dinner might be something you cook fresh, or it might come from the freezer or a can. When kidney health is a concern, it's easy to focus on one ingredient and forget the rest. You worry about beans or salt or sugar, but you don't always see how they fit together. Older kidneys, though, respond to patterns more than isolated moments. A very salty lunch, combined with a large, heavy bean dinner, repeated many times a week, can be much harder on your body than a single bowl of chili in an otherwise gentle week. One simple way to think about your plate is to divide it mentally into 3 parts: a protein part, a vegetable part, and a starch or grain part. Your doctor or dietitian can help you decide how big each part should be for you, especially if you have diabetes or need to watch your weight. In general, for many older adults with kidney issues, we want the protein portion to be moderate, not towering, and we want at least half the plate to be filled with vegetables and gentle starches that don't overload the kidneys. So where do beans fit? If you're choosing a dense bean, like black beans or lentils, think of them as part or all of your protein portion, not an extra on top. Instead of a large bowl that is mostly beans with a few vegetables, consider a smaller scoop of beans nestled next to a generous helping of green beans, peas, carrots, or other vegetables your doctor says are safe for you. This way, you still get the taste and comfort you love, but your kidneys aren't facing a wall of protein and minerals all at once. If you're choosing lighter beans or peas, like green beans or small portions of peas, you can let them fill more of the vegetable side of your plate. A dinner of baked chicken, a scoop of rice, and a big pile of steamed green beans is often easier on the kidneys than a dinner where the plate is dominated by a thick bean stew. Canned beans can be part of this plan too, with a little extra care. Many canned beans are high in sodium, which can raise blood pressure and make swelling worse. If you rely on canned beans, try rinsing them under running water in a colander before you cook or serve them. That simple step can wash away a surprising amount of extra salt. Then, try not to add much more salt during cooking. Herbs, garlic, onion, lemon juice, or a splash of vinegar can add flavor without loading the kidneys with more sodium. For starches, such as rice, potatoes, or bread, your doctor's advice will matter a lot, especially if you have diabetes or are watching your potassium. In general, a modest portion of a gentle starch can help make meals satisfying so you don't feel tempted to heap more beans on your plate just to feel full. As you adjust your beans, your vegetables, and your starches, keep listening to your body. Do you feel heavy and sluggish for hours after a meal? Or do you feel fairly comfortable? Do your rings or socks feel tighter on days when you eat certain foods? These small daily clues, combined with your lab tests, can help you and your doctor fine-tune your choices. Remember, this may not apply to everyone, and some people will have very specific restrictions. Always bring your questions to your healthcare team and ask them to explain how your food choices match your lab results. Now that we've talked about the plate itself, there's another side to protecting your kidneys after 60 that often gets overlooked. The simple daily habits around your meals and medicines that can make your kidneys' job easier or harder without you even realizing it. Think about a regular afternoon. Maybe you sit in your favorite chair and read, or you watch a show, or you chat on the phone with a friend. At some point, you might reach for a pain reliever for an aching back or a sore knee. You might pour another cup of coffee or tea. You might grab a small snack from the cupboard. Each of those small choices can matter more when your kidneys are already working with less reserve. One example is over-the-counter pain relievers. Some common medicines, especially certain anti-inflammatory tablets, can be harsh on the kidneys when taken often or in high doses, especially in older adults. Many people don't realize this because these medicines are easy to buy and have been in the cabinet for years. If you find yourself taking them every day or most days, that's an important conversation to have with your doctor. There may be safer options for your kidneys or different doses that are kinder to your body. Never change your medicine on your own, but do bring it up at your next appointment and ask how it fits with your kidney numbers. Another example is fluids. You may have been told at some point, drink lots of water, it's good for your kidneys. For healthy kidneys, that can be reasonable. For older kidneys, especially in advanced kidney disease or heart failure, fluid can be a more delicate balance. Some people need to drink more. Others need to limit how much they drink so they don't overload their circulation. That is why you'll often hear me repeat this. Everyone's body is different, and talking with your doctor first is essential. If your doctor has not told you to limit fluids, a steady intake of water throughout the day can help your kidneys move waste along. That might look like a glass of water with each meal and a glass between meals, adjusted for your particular situation. If you've been told to limit fluids, follow those instructions closely, even if you feel thirsty. In those cases, your healthcare team is balancing your heart, lungs, and kidneys together, and your safety comes first. Snacks are another spot where the kidneys feel the impact over time. Salty crackers, chips, processed meats, and instant soups often carry a lot of sodium and sometimes phosphorus additives. If you're carefully watching your beans at meals, but reaching for salty snacks every afternoon, your kidneys may still be doing more work than you think. Swapping some of those snacks for small handfuls of unsalted nuts, a piece of fruit approved by your doctor, or a small portion of vegetables with a low-sodium dip can help lighten the load. Even movement plays a role. You don't have to run marathons to support your kidneys. Simple, steady movement, like walking around the block, doing a few laps inside your home, or standing up and stretching during commercials, keeps your blood flowing, supports your muscles, and can help your body use sugar more smoothly. For many older adults, gentle movement after meals, such as a 10-minute walk after lunch, helps them feel less heavy and supports better blood sugar control, which in turn is kinder to the kidneys. Always talk with your doctor first before starting new exercise, especially if you have heart conditions, balance issues, or other concerns, and remember that even small steps count. These daily habits may not sound dramatic, but they are powerful. A modest bean portion, a washed and lightly seasoned vegetable, a mindful approach to pain medicines, and steady but safe fluids add up over months and years. They form the background that allows your kidneys to do their quiet work without as many surprises. Still, there is one more piece that deserves attention: your relationship with your healthcare team and how you feel emotionally about your kidneys. Many seniors carry a quiet fear that every lab test might bring bad news. That fear can make it hard to enjoy food or try new routines. Let's talk about that gently. If you've ever sat in a waiting room before a blood draw, staring at the posters on the wall and wondering what the numbers will say this time, you know that kidney health is not just about organs and food. It's also about emotions. Maybe you've had a relative who went on dialysis, and part of you worries you're heading down the same path. Maybe you've heard stories from friends at your senior center about kidney failure, and every time your doctor mentions mild decline or borderline numbers, your mind jumps ahead to the worst-case picture. That kind of fear is understandable, but it can make everyday choices feel heavy. One of the most important things you can do for yourself is to turn that fear into questions instead of silent worry. At your next appointment, when your doctor reviews your labs, consider asking simple, direct questions like, what stage is my kidney function in right now? And what does that mean for my daily life? Which foods should I especially watch, and which are generally safe for me? Should I see a kidney dietitian to help me plan my meals? Write these questions on a small card and keep it in your wallet or purse. That way, when you're sitting in the exam room and your mind goes blank from nervousness, you have your own words ready. You're not just waiting to be told what is wrong. You're actively taking part in protecting your kidneys. If your doctor suggests seeing a dietitian, especially one who works with kidney patients, consider saying yes. Many seniors find that a single visit, sitting at a table and looking through real food examples, turns a confusing list of don'ts into a set of clear, practical do's. Instead of thinking, "I can't have beans," they learn, "I can have this much of this type of bean, this often, and I can enjoy plenty of these lighter beans and vegetables." That kind of clarity can take away a lot of fear. Emotionally, it can also help to remember that kidney health is usually a long story, not a sudden event. For most people, numbers change slowly, over years. That means you have time to learn, to adjust, and to improve your habits. You're not expected to fix everything overnight. You are simply invited to make smart, steady choices that help your kidneys do the best they can with the strength they still have. If you ever feel overwhelmed by all the information, pause and come back to basics. Eat slowly. Choose real foods over highly processed ones when you can. Keep your salt intake modest. Use beans thoughtfully, in portions that fit your doctor's advice. Keep moving in safe, gentle ways. Take your medicines as prescribed and ask questions when you're unsure. And perhaps most importantly, give yourself some grace. If you have a day when you eat more than you intended, or you choose a heavier meal at a family gathering, don't see it as a failure. Talk with your doctor first if you have concerns, then return to your usual, thoughtful routine the next day. Kidneys are affected by patterns, not single occasions. What you do most of the time is what shapes your health. As we come toward the end of our time together, I'd like you to imagine one simple scene. It's dinner time a week from now. You've talked with your doctor or you've made a note to do so at your next visit. You're standing in your kitchen with a few choices in front of you. A bag of heavy dried beans, a can of low-sodium peas, a bundle of fresh green beans, maybe some rice or pasta, and a small portion of meat or another protein your doctor approves. Instead of feeling frozen by worry, you take a small breath and think through what you've learned. You decide that tonight, the heavy beans can wait. You choose to steam the green beans, maybe stir a small spoonful of peas into a light soup, and pair those with a moderate portion of protein and a gentle starch. You season your meal with herbs instead of a salt shaker. You sit down, say whatever quiet words you usually say before you eat, and you enjoy your dinner knowing you made a choice that respects your kidneys as they are today, not as they were years ago. That single meal will not fix or ruin your kidneys. But each meal like that, over time, becomes part of a kinder pattern. Beans become tools you use with care, not mysteries you fear. Vegetables become partners rather than afterthoughts. Lab tests become information you use, not verdicts you dread. Your kidneys, even if they're not perfect, are still working for you right now. They've carried you through decades of life, through holidays, long workdays, family meals, and quiet evenings. They deserve thoughtful support, and you deserve the peace of mind that comes from understanding what you're doing and why. So as you close this video and go back to your day, I'd like to ask you a gentle question. Which small change to your meals feels easiest for you to try this week? Using a lighter bean or vegetable more often, rinsing canned beans, watching your salt, or talking with your doctor about your current kidney numbers? Share your answer in the comments if you'd like. Your ideas might encourage someone else who is feeling the same worries you've felt. And if you found this helpful, consider subscribing so you don't miss future videos where we keep breaking down kidney topics into calm, practical steps you can actually use in daily life. Your kidneys may be quieter now than they once were, but with care, attention, and support from your healthcare team, they can still carry you far.